Hello, everybody. My name is Mартен Каеватс. I'm the National Digital Advisor for the Government of Estonia. And I'm super happy to be here in Belarus, though I'm actually standing here in Tallinn and the weather is not so good. But my heart is with you. And also everybody here in Estonia are thinking a lot about Belarus. And hopefully we can help to figure out how can Belarusia build an independent system so that it actually would be resilient. So as mentioned, my name is Mартен Каеватс. I'm the National Digital Advisor for Government of Estonia. Basically, I'm responsible for everything digital and innovation related in Estonia. So as a background, I'm an architect, city planner. So I actually learned how to build buildings and the city. But currently I'm responsible for governance architecture. And if there is one message to take home to Belarus today is that the main lesson learned from building a digital society here in Estonia is that it's actually got very little to do with technology and everything to do in building a mindset and culture and building a community around that. Yes, technological gadgetry can help a lot in building such things. And as I was listening to my very good friend and colleague Dima presenting before me, then yes, some of the very key elements in building a resilient architecture in digital are necessary. So the same things as Dima mentioned, having a very strong digital identity. This is, you cannot build a digital society without recognizing people online in a secure way. Plus, you need to have a very clear idea of how do you exchange data in a safe and secure way. In Estonia, this is done through X-Road. This is a distributed architecture mechanism that connects all of the different databases together in a seamless way so that we would be actually able to provide governmental services to our citizens. And also, one of the other key elements is to kind of solve the question of data integrity. Data integrity means that did somebody else change the piece of information or did not? So I think this is very, very important because if there is a constant threat to different cybersecurity issues of either malicious hackers hacking into the systems, or even when civil servants themselves sometimes tend to make mistakes, then having a track record of that data integrity is absolutely key and paramount to the success of the society when building a digital society. So these are the few basics, but as I mentioned, and Dmitry Bornashev covered those issues as well. But as I mentioned, building a digital society has a lot to do with actual community building. And I'm sorry, I don't know the situation that well in Belarus, but I do watch the news, and again, my heart is with you. Then it actually comes down to starting from little steps. So and key and paramount, and is again the lesson learned from Estonia is that we were in a similar type of situation in 1991. Tables have not turned yet in Belarus, but still we were in this situation when we completely had to reinvent the government as such. This was a very different time than we are staying now. Currently, I think for governments or for countries to try to reinvent themselves is much easier because there is a lot of good practice out there. It's not only Estonia, it's a lot of good experience in Finland, a lot of good experience in New Zealand, Canada, and many other countries. But if I would advise Belarus to actually start building a digital governance system, then again, keep in mind that this is a cultural change. And this cultural change does not necessarily happen fast by implementing one or another technology, but rather it happens gradually. One of the very key elements, and this I'm sorry might sound ironic in the current situation in Belarus, but it actually is about building trust. It's building trust between all different stakeholders in the society. We need to acknowledge that digital society governance is not only about government per se. It's about all of the different stakeholders. And as today I see that this is also an event for entrepreneurs, then it's about government, entrepreneurs, civil society working together. Currently, yes, an element is not necessarily cooperating, but still, if in an ideal world, when those changes would happen, then basically it's important for the whole society to cooperate on building a strong digital society together. And in order to do that, the key elements that I mentioned, identity, data exchange, data integrity, are very, very important. And again, how it happened in Estonia was basically, you can start from very little steps. Like the first digital services actually can be deployed on basis of population registry, business registry, and land registry. On those very basic informations, you can build already a set of very, very basic but fundamental and key governmental services. And I think when the changes in Belarus would happen and will happen, then I think Belarus is in a very, very unique position to leapfrog a lot of this bureaucratic nonsense that other countries have been doing. Because in these moments when change is happening, it's very important to kind of have a plan and to actually deploy few of these very ground-breaking elements that will be long-lasting and also can build a resilient digital society. One of the very key parts also is that as Estonia has been doing this already for the past 30 years, then the basis of building trust and community in digital services comes from education. So you need to start, and probably there is enthusiastic entrepreneurs who are educating people about different digital tools, how to use them, how to deploy them, and so on. You need to have a very thorough way of educating people to let's say, remove the fears of using different technologies. In Estonia, this already started in 1997 when there was a program called Tiger Leap, which was mainly focused on the digital education of the less fortunate, meaning the low income people and also the elderly people, so that they would be actually ready and open to use and embrace this kind of digital solutions. One other point that would be super important is that where Estonia can help in setting up these things is that as we've been working with many countries all across the world, helping to deploy their own digital solutions, then we've kind of figured out that it's rather difficult to do because each of the cultural situation is very different. But in order to battle this and in order to come up with a solution, then 3 years ago, me and my friend Krista Vaher, who's the CTO of the government of Estonia, so the chief architect of all technological solutions, we figured out that even the current architecture we have placed here in Estonia is not sustainable enough, because changes in the society are coming faster and faster. For example, this year, you guys in Belarus definitely have had a very year full of changes, but also the whole planet has seen the global pandemic, and also in the past 10 years, a lot of new technological changes have appeared, which actually completely changed the way we interact with certain kind of services, or for example, with the government. And as a kind of follow-up to that point, we are currently building a global digital architecture based on domain-driven microservices and asynchronous messaging rooms. If that's too technical for you, then we are building an architectural toolkit. Let's call it kind of, it kind of would be that these, let's say, like pieces of Legos that are as small as possible and mimic human processes, and can actually be deployed all across the planet while delivering governmental e-services. So we can imagine a country like Belarus or Finland or Estonia, or countries in Africa or in Asia, where a municipality or the government of the whole country wants to build a digital identity, for example, or this data exchange that was mentioned. Then we are making these small Lego bricks open source, so that each of those countries can build their own unique digital architecture much faster, and in a way that the expenses that are needed to the deployment of these kind of services would be much cheaper. Again, this is a piece of information that we are just starting to do this project. So these building blocks are not yet available, but hopefully, and this is a project we are doing with the International Telecommunication Union, the German government, and DIAL, which is a digital agency for the United Nations. And hopefully within, let's say, about a year, maybe a year and a half, we will be able to share those building blocks with you guys in Belarus and all across the planet for the countries who actually want to deploy and build a digital society. So what else is happening? In Estonia, again, as I mentioned, the community building aspect is paramount and key. And in order to start, you don't actually need to build everything all at once, because this is impossible. You can start building small and simple services. In Estonia, the first use case, which those who have heard the stories in Estonia, was pretty simple. It was about taxation, to automate taxes, but also nowadays, as also Dimitri Burnashev mentioned, we are working strongly with artificial intelligence so that it could be deployed in governmental services. Currently in Estonia, we have about 44 different narrow AI applications live in the public sector, and these may range from various different kinds of services, such as chatbots, such as bots that help to find people adequate jobs when they've lost one, or bots that help to make traffic flows better, or many others. So if these changes would appear in Belarus, then this is a super unique opportunity to actually leapfrog a lot of these bureaucratic nonsense, and actually build a fully fledged digital society from ground up based on artificial intelligence solutions. And this can be a very efficient way, because one of the things why this happened here in Estonia was that we actually didn't have the money to build a paper-based bureaucracy. We're a small country. We're 1.3 million people. So we actually didn't have the finances to build a paper-based bureaucracy. And we kind of use the digital to make our public sector more efficient. Currently, Estonia has the most efficient public sector per capita, and mostly this is because of these digital solutions. So we can as a kind of a dream or a way of thinking, I think Belarus, when these changes would happen, some very key elements need to be taken to build immediately. Again, it starts with having a strong identity, and I would urge you, when building a digital society for the government, not to build centralized information systems, because you come from probably a society and have recognized that there is a certain threat there, but using and building distributed architecture in a way that all of the key elements would be open source, which would actually make it easy to change, and also that you would not be paying large-scale vendors huge fees for licensing in order to make your own life better. But this is a place where Estonia can help a lot. We have a lot of experience. We have a lot of practical examples, and in about a year and a half, we will have the free open source toolkit ready for any given country to basically jumpstart their digital transformations. And then basically we are here to help. As I'm thinking, then my time seems to be over, so I'm kind of ending now. And if there's any questions, I will try to answer them.
Thank you, Martin. Definitely, we have a couple of questions to you. So the first question: Estonia, like you said, has 1.3 million citizens. Do you think that databases, interconnections, and database capacity could be scaled without any negative effects for bigger countries like Belarus is?
Well, definitely, because we have actually very practical examples from Colombia, Argentina, Ukraine, that are already deploying, Japan, for example. So the scale of the country is not important, because like if you're a bigger country, then yes, but the technological is scalable from ground up. What is very different and difficult is like the cultures of each of those countries is very different. So each of the countries needs to be dealt in a different way. But again, if we would see large-scale changes happening in Belarus, then I would definitely advise you to use a distributed architecture system such as X-Road for data exchange, which is fully scalable, fully secure. And as just an example of scale, currently I'm responsible for global health data interoperability for the World Health Organization. So I'm responsible for making a global information exchange system to exchange information about COVID vaccinations and antibody tests for World Health Organization. So in this case, we are not talking about 1.3 million people. What we are talking about is the whole planet at once. So that might be an example how this technological gadgetry is actually scalable for bigger countries or the whole planet as well.
Thank you. One more question is regarding digital literacy among citizens of the country. So how do you promote, I mean, the government of Estonia promotes different digital solutions for society within the country. How do you develop digital literacy among citizens? Are you involved in this process? And could you please describe some probably insights from this process?
So yes, of course, as I mentioned, education is the very, very foundation of a digital society. And since 1997, we have been having digital education in classes, in schools. I have 3 children in my family. My 5-year-old kid goes to robotics class, and this is very common here in Estonia. So yes, it's digital education nowadays. It's like music lessons. I think everyone goes to school and goes to music lessons as well. It's not because everyone needs to be a musician, but it's that you would be aware that there is such things in the world as well. But with digital, I think having a strong digital education system is critical because, sorry, all of us use these types of solutions on an everyday basis. And for example, things like cyberbullying for teenagers, when and all of these things have become significant. So in order to actually build a society based on trust, then all of us actually need to know what we are actually doing in the internet. Should I click on this link or not? And like in Estonia, there is also, we have a very active monitoring system of different cybersecurity threats and different incidents. So the weakest link in the cybersecurity chain is always the person himself or herself. And in order to combat that, we need to have a vast educational system. Estonian government, together with the private sector, we have lots of different programs in order to teach people how about computers, about digital solutions, and how to behave in those, and what to know and what's important and what's not. But this is very key, and this is something that you guys in Belarus basically can start already immediately. In 1997, the private sector basically paid for the, I think it was like 20% of the whole population was educated with this program of getting the older and poor people to use internet, to trust these solutions, and to know and to behave in internet as well.
Thank you, Martin. If you were Belarusian government advisor, what you'd start from?
Well, I would need to know the Belarusian context a bit better, but I would start building a strong community of trust to deploy digital identity and data exchange architecture. Very key in which I feel it's important is data protection laws, because Estonia is built on the idea and concept that I'm the owner of my own data as a citizen, and I'm in control of it, not the government. Government is merely providing a service of keeping my data safe and secure. It's my data, not the government's data. So if we can, if I think we would start with implementing some very strong data protection laws, something similar to the European GDPR, and actually start building this architecture of trust around those things.
Thank you, Martin. It was a great pleasure talking to you, and we believe that soon we could meet in Belarus personally, not digitally. But anyway, you are always welcome to share the experience of Estonia. Right?
And just as an end, I will show you. This is the peace treaty between Estonia and Russia that Estonia regained its independence in 1918. So there is still hope somewhere in the air, and we are with you. Thank you.